everybody. It is my privilege and honor to introduce someone who needs no introduction at all, Miss Robin Roberts, who is now celebrating in what, 2 days, Robin, 20 years on Good Morning America. For the last 9 years, she's been at the helm of the #1 morning show in the country, New York Times bestselling author of Everybody's Got Something. And I read, and I think that all people are going to really relate, because I thought that it really summed you up so well. Heart and humility. And I think that's what comes through the screen. And you know what, Robin, so often people will say, well, is Robin really like that in real life? And you are. I think that you are so authentic, and who you are is, if people are able to really see that in their living rooms and their kitchens in the morning. And so it's just been a privilege for me to have this front row seat to watch you and be a role model and a mentor for me, whether you know that or not.
You're great. I mean, from one author to another, and a dear friend. And I'm actually live signing as we're doing this. But I gotta say, I can't believe I'm coming up on 20 years at Good Morning America. And I think about our friendship, and I remember how, Lindsay, you're so timid to begin with, and you'd come up and you'd ask for little, bits of advice. And look at you now.
Oh my goodness.
I grow up so fast.
Well, I want to say, and then I'm going to get into the book, but this actually kind of dovetails in, because one of the times we had lunch and you said you should smile more. This is before Hamilton even came out, right? And so that positivity, that's why this book only made sense, Brighter by the Day, because that's what you are. You are that sunshine. You are that good in Good Morning for everybody. And I know you've always talked about how you really enjoy saying that. You write in the book about how you say America as if you're saying, good morning to
Lindsay. Good morning, yes. Lindsay. That's how I say it. I don't think of it, Good Morning America. Good morning, Lindsay. Good morning, Sweet Amber. Good morning, like yes. that. And it's just something that, oh goodness, what a privilege. It's just such to kind of set the tone for the day for folks. And I'm really proud. I'm very proud of Brighter by the Day. And that's all, that is my hope. And I remember when we had our lunch, and I know people might think like, oh, Robin, that sounds so insignificant, telling Lindsay to smile more. That's not really what it was about. It's like I would see you and know how you are beautiful, smiling, loving, and then you'd get on the air and right. you felt like you had to be a certain way. So right. I was just saying, be you, right. be you. And when you showed the picture of yourself, like with little, like a little kid. Remember that you showed a picture of yourself?
Yeah, the little two-piece on the beach, yes.
Exactly. But the point being, and this is what this book is about, and I'm really grateful that people who received an early copy have reached out to me. And it's almost like every single person who has read it picked up something different in the book that resonated with them. And that is the intent. It's because our journeys are ever evolving. And I want people to be able to go back to it from time to time, depending on where they are in their journey. And it started writing before the pandemic. And then lo and behold, these last 2 years, Lindsay, what we're going right. through at ABC right. News and trying to do our work, and what the world has gone through these last couple of years. And it's just trying to be a bit of a light during a very dark period. And there are a lot of people who made that pivot, and just trying to help give them some tools to be able to turn some of the principles that I talk about, like optimism, right. positivity, turn those principles into practice, and actually showing how you can go about doing that.
And I think that what's so effective, and I know you're continuing to sign live right now.
Well, and we're livesigning.com. Yeah. So we're news people. I'm going to do literally what we're
multitask. So and we're going to get to some of the questions from people who you're signing the books. But one thing that I thought was so interesting is a lot of it's kind of like intuitive, but when you say it, it kind of gives a certain power to it, because you even talk about, the idea, you quote somebody else of saying like, doubt kills more dreams than failure ever will. And you kind of talk in your own self-reflective manner of having fear. And it's kind of like,
Right.
wow, even Robin Roberts has fear, and the happy sorrow and all the, in particular, I love that the 3 Ds that your daddy was brought up with was a discipline, determination, and delord.
The Lord, instead of the
Um,
three
but I think that also when you talk about when you wake up and what will be the surprise for you today. I think that so many of us are going to say, I know that I was when I was reading the book thinking like, that's a really good way to look at it, because you give really like applicable things that people can do in tools, and I think that that's so helpful because it's not like you're just saying, hey, be positive. You're
No.
actually saying, hey, I've been through some stuff, and this is what helped me get through it. Okay, I'm gonna stop talking and I'm gonna ask a
And
question.
I try to have it be a conversation. I want
Yeah.
people to feel when they're reading the book that I'm sitting there on the couch with them, that I'm having a conversation with them, and that I hear you, I feel you. I know it is not natural for everyone to have a sunny, optimistic outlook. I get that. And I just want to be able to show people maybe how they can kind of just put that in their life just a little bit more, just taking baby steps. And I bet you there's sometimes you're going to read something, you're going to go, oh my gosh, repetition is the mother of skill. I've heard that. And it's like, I'm not a preacher, I'm not a teacher, but I can sure remind you of some things. And that is my hope with this book, just to kind of remind you what I think we all have heard, many of us have heard over the course of our lives. And it's just a little friendly nudge to go, let's say, joy versus happiness. Happiness
Right.
is based on something conditional. Oh, I got a raise, or something happened. Joy, it just anchors the soul.
Right. Right.
Joy, there's no particular reason. You have that sometimes. You just feel joy in your
Right.
soul. That is what I talk about, the joy versus happiness mindset.
And you at the outset talk about how we're just on the porch drinking some kombucha, right? Which Robin drinks every morning on the set.
I do.
It's like the miracle tonic. Okay, I'm going to get to. So Carrie from Iowa said, "What is the biggest takeaway you want your readers to gain?"
Iowa. Oh, I had a sister that was born in Iowa. My dad went to Morningside, started off at Howard University, but ended up getting his degree from Morningside. I don't know why. I just wanted to share that with you.
Yeah.
Biggest takeaway. What I want the biggest takeaway for people when they pick this up, they're not alone. That yes, like Lindsay, how you were saying earlier, I don't know why people feel that when they see some people who've reached a certain level of success, whatever success is, that they feel that that person didn't have doubts, they didn't have fear. So I want people to realize that you're not alone in feeling that way. And the biggest takeaway I want folks to get is that I got this. I'm going to be able to do this. I'm going to stop saying one day, day one. That's the takeaway. I just want one small action that somebody is going to take to just take another step. Like my great friend and mentor, the legendary coach at Tennessee, Pat Summit. Left foot, right foot, breathe. Left foot,
Mm.
right foot, breathe. Just keep moving, keep believing. And so this takeaway is that I'm going to have you believing in yourself, in that you, nothing I did, I'm going to give you the tools to do the work that you need to do. And so you can have that self satisfaction that it wasn't anybody else but yourself that did it.
And I'm missing her name and location now, but somebody asked early on, and I wanted to go back to that. Why did you decide to write this book now?
I'm sorry, blessings, Robin Roberts. Why did I decide? I had, I had started writing it. Okay. I wrote a book it came out in 2013. It was after my second battle with cancer, and it was called Everybody's Got Something. And I thought, that's it. Now, Lindsay, maybe you could attest to, you write these great children's books.
Mhm.
And, how many are you up to now, Lindsay?
Four.
Four. Okay. Um, I, I didn't think I would write another book. And then when I started in the pandemic and was at home with my partner Amber, and we were in the kitchen, and I was posting these morning messages and prayers, which I had done infrequently here in the dressing room. We used to only do it like one day a week, and then the pandemic hits, and I just feel like, oh, I got to do something. What can I do? Oh, I'm going to share my message and prayer. And I heard from people online who were saying, really appreciate these videos, but I would love to be able to pick up something. You're really helping me. You're lifting me up to get through this very dark time. And it was really what I said, my tribe, who
Mhm.
really inspired me to write the book. So that's why I did it now, because of people wanting the messages that I was sharing online to be able to put it on their nightstand, pick it up in the morning or in the evening or whenever it is that they feel they need that little boost.
And you really go there. I mean, you're not just doing just the messages of positivity without any backstory. You get into your relationship with Amber. You get into, you know, the nitty gritty of life that I think that, again, that authenticity that people have come to expect. Go
Oh, you mean
ahead.
talking about that I admitted that we had counseling, couples
Yes.
counseling. And I know a lot
Yes.
of people were shocked because I think, oh my gosh, you've been dating 17 years, you call her Sweet Amber.
Right.
And
Sweet Amber.
right, sweet. Well, yeah, she's sweet, but you know what? We needed to, and it was my at my behest saying, look, there's a lot of good in our relationship, but I'm struggling here, and I don't want to bail. I don't want to run. Can we go to counseling? And thank goodness we found this great one who gave us the tools how to communicate with one another. So you're very right. I'm not just like little Pollyanna going,
Right. Right.
the world's made of marshmallows and sunshine. It's really just letting people know that we have choices to make. And there's this wonderful woman, Shay. I call her Shea Butter. She's part of the health team that we have here. And she puts up these different mantras on the board. But every time we walk out after getting tested, she goes, make good choices, make good choices. And just think about that. And that can apply to so many areas of our life. Just make good choices.
And you say that in the book that we have to choose joy.
Yes. I'll another example. This morning, I've got a hectic schedule. I just came home from down in Mississippi with my nieces and nephews and their children, and there was a whole bunch of us, and it was a wonderful book signing in my hometown, and I love being there and seeing high school friends and traveling back up here. I have a speaking engagement in Atlanta, all these things, the book, my anniversary, and I woke up this morning and there was a moment where I was like, oh, man. And then I just stopped. I took a deep breath, and I honestly said to myself, I'm going to choose right now to be happy,
Mm.
because I was feeling overwhelmed. I was feeling all this, and and it's like everybody's got something. And please, I don't compare. I know people have a whole much more going on in their life than I do. So don't for a minute think that I'm in any other way as a saying. For me, I felt very overwhelmed and I felt heavy, and I made a conscious choice. And it's so important, my friend Lindsay, to be intentional,
Mm.
for us to be intentional. And we can be intentional about our emotions, and also to recognize those times, which I've only started to learn recently, those bad feelings, sorrow or despair or fear, which before I'd try to say, you can't live here, get out of here. And it kept nagging at me. And then I realized, oh my gosh, I need to recognize and honor those feelings and emotions as much as I recognize and honor the good ones. And until you actually take that time to say, okay, why fear? Why are you here? How are you trying to get my attention? Because if you don't acknowledge it and deal with it, it's going to stay with you a lot longer than it
Mhm.
should.
Mhm. You also talked about meditation. We can get into that in a moment because I want to get to a question here.
Okay.
Because that was a fun little moment for me to kind of, to read how you turned to George and he was fine and you were feeling like all heavy and you were just like, what? No. Okay. So what's one of this is from Chloe from San Diego, California.
Ooh,
What,
Chloe, San Diego, West Coast.
what's one of your most memorable interviews?
Woo! Most memorable interviews. They vary. I like the interviews that are unexpected. And let me try and explain this. Dr. Judge Esther Salas.
Oh,
who
right.
a Latina judge in New Jersey whose son was tragically killed at their front door by somebody who wanted to kill the judge only because, as she's put it, because she had the nerve to be Latina and a judge. And I did the interview with her some months after Daniel's murder. And she said, hate is heavy, love is light. That was unexpected to find somebody to be able to have that forgiveness. And she really helped a lot of people deal with grief and understanding about loss. So that was totally unexpected that I would get something like that out of such a tragic um, set of circumstances. But I will say the interview, and not getting political at all, was then President Barack Obama, who changed his stance on marriage equality. And I was asked to do the interview with him and to, as a gay woman, to be there in the White House to sit across from the president when he stated that he had changed his stance on marriage equality is something I will never forget. But you should also know at the same time, Lindsay, how when we're doing these interviews and the producer will have little cards off to the side with notes like 5 minutes or whatever
Sure.
in the interview. Well, after President Obama made this stance, and I think I'm feeling pretty good on myself, like, boy, this is going to make international headlines. I'm on that in a bag of chips. Producer Emily put the little sign up to me for only I could see, and it said, lipstick on teeth. So right when I thought I was making this when you strut, you stumble, which my mom.
So when you strut, you stumble. Right. That's right.
So I remember that interview for two reasons: what the president said, and because he said it when I had lipstick on my teeth. So when you think you're all that,
I didn't notice the lipstick. So
yeah,
you still made the headlines. All right. This is a question from Linda in Utah. What's a pinch me moment from your career at GMA?
Oh, Linda, that's a good one. A pinch me
Yeah.
moment. There's so many of them. Pinch me moment. Oh. And I think I saw it in the rundown that we're going to do something, an update. For my anniversary, we've had some great weddings here on GMA. And there was one, and it was a surprise, and they were getting married. And you know who was their wedding singer? Luther Vandross.
My goodness.
Was the wedding
I
singer.
missed that.
I was like, huh? It wasn't even my wedding. I was like, oh my goodness. That was a pinch me moment. But there are also the way I hesitate, because there's so many, and some might seem to be sad, but they're really happy. Like in Haiti, we'll just say this after I'm going to last one. Haiti earthquake, and Lindsay, you've been there too, where you're covering a devastation and you feel so helpless that as a reporter, you're reporting on the destruction that you're seeing, but you're like, isn't there more I can do? And I was in Haiti, got a call from the assignment desk that said a family in Iowa was in the process of adopting a Haitian little girl. They didn't know her condition. Could I find her for them? So I just went out with the crew, and we were able to find the orphanage. They were out in the front yard. The orphanage was destroyed, but I was able to show the Poulters. I remember their names. And Esther Meyer is the little girl's name. Esther Maya Poulter. And showed them to their mother and father back in Iowa, and we were able to reunite them. That was a pinch me moment in a time when I really felt that there was nothing to be happy and grateful for.
I remember that story. And, people always say you won't remember the facts, but you'll remember how something made you feel, right? And I do remember it was kind of a heartwarming moment there. And I do want to remind everybody that premiercollectibles.com/brighter. You too can purchase your signed books from Robin, brighter by the day. And
I'm truly signing them. This is not, I mean, I'm doing it. I'm signing. I'm legit. Too legit to quit. Sorry. I've been up since 4, so.
This is a good, I think, for the young people out there. So Caleb from Minnesota, he said, what piece of advice would you give to a college grad who's trying to get into journalism and broadcasting?
Okay, and I want you to answer this too, Lindsay, because you're one of the best. If you're a young person getting into this field, first of all, thank you. Thank you for wanting to join this honorable profession. Be patient and persistent. Okay. Be curious. Dream big, focus small. Those day-to-day small things that you can do. I worked in local TV I was in 4 different stations in like 6 years, learned so much before I made it to ESPN and then to ABC. Find those people around you who are going to build you up. Please work on your writing skills, but be patient and persistent. What would you say, Lindsay?
I would say it's, first of all, it's not as glamorous as it looks.
No.
I think that, it's work. It's tough. I think you have to have a tough skin as well. I think get a mentor. As much as I'm actually, and I don't know if people would know this, I'm kind of shy. So Robin, even when I reached out to you to be like, can we do lunch? Can we get together? That like took a lot. But I think that having people who can kind of say, buck up little camper, and here's some tips, and here's, what you need to do, because I always, and I continue to be hungry for feedback even now, because I think that we're always growing.
Yeah. And young
And
people, especially young people, don't you find our young staffers, they want that feedback.
yes, for
Right.
sure. But yeah,
I look at you now, Lindsay, and I'm just thinking about our lunch because we had the same agent at the time.
yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so, and you're really shy, and you got this beautiful smile, and you're this, that, and the other. And I look at you now, you're filling in for David Muir on World News. You have your streaming, the interviews that you're doing, and the books that you're writing. And I'm just so grateful that you asked for advice, not necessarily from me, but as I told you, you had the tools. From day one, you had the tools, and people have to, even the young person who just asked about getting into the business, especially when you're younger, you are a limited edition. Always remember that about you. You're a limited edition. There's no one else like you. There's no one else that can have that perspective that you have. And so know your self-worth. We always talk about self-esteem is about self-worth and knowing that you are indeed worthy of whatever goal that you set for yourself.
Amen. See, she just drops pearls of wisdom just, on the live stream, signing books. Okay, this is from Sarah from Portland, Oregon. What's a day in the life look like? What practices do you do to help you stay afloat? So I think that kind of goes back to, the advice you got from George as well.
Yeah, Sarah, thank you, Sarah. Sarah from Portland. I feel like we're on the radio. Sarah from Portland is calling in. First time calling, long time listener. I've been around too long. For the 5 people who got that, it was worth it.
I got it. I was actually about to finish it. When you first said pause, I was about to say long-time listener.
Yeah. But Sarah, as we alluded to earlier, my meditation has been very, very key for me. Lindsay was alluding to our colleague, George Stephanopoulos. There was a time on the air that I can't even remember what happened, but I remember the hair on the back of my neck standing up. I was so like, oh, and I thought if I felt that way, George must too. And I looked and he was calm as can be. So during the commercial break, I'm like, what do you do? And he told me about his meditation with Bob Roth. And it's TM. It's 20 minutes a day. Since the pandemic, Bob has been doing it online and on a conference call. So it's something empowering about knowing all these other people are on with you as you're doing your meditation. So I do meditation twice a day. I try to, at least once in the morning. I try to get another one in. Also, I'm very mindful. I'm just very, like yesterday, I had nice lunch with Sam Champion, a colleague and friend of mine. Then I went to Pilates. I just self-care is not being selfish. Let me put it that way. And so I try to find those moments where I can just be and not feel guilty for taking time for myself. And but it's just a lot of I said about being intentional with my time. And I'll tell you the biggest thing. I'll tell you the biggest thing, Sarah. I get my sleep. I made it a priority about 2 years ago. A good friend of ours, here at ABC, The Sleep Fix, wrote a book.
Oh yeah, Diane Macedo, right? That's right.
Yeah. It's really good, and it really helped me. And now that I get my proper rest, because I found that I was making poor decisions and just wasn't feeling well. And part of it was because I was one of those, oh, I only need 4 hours of sleep.
Right. Yeah.
No, no. So getting my proper rest, drinking a lot of water, movement. I'm not so much into low impact. I'm into no impact as far as I don't run. I do bike, Peloton, but it's just about just finding those moments to be at peace and to have my quiet time, which is very key.
Yeah, I think you said in the book you're in bed by 9, right?
I'm in bed by 9 now. I'm up, and I used to get up early to meditate. Now what I do is I sleep in a little bit later, and I meditate now after Good Morning
Okay.
America, my other part of my dressing room right there at 9:15. And my glam fam, they know, bar the doors, can't come in. I spend that time to just kind of,
Right.
especially after being on the air for 2 hours.
All right. This is from Xavier in Michigan. Um, Robin, you are such an inspiration. What advice do you wish you could give your younger self first starting out in this crazy business?
Run! No, just kidding, just kidding. Um, I I would have given my younger self permission more to. I was a lot like you, Lindsay. I was in the beginning. I had a lot of self doubt.
Mhm.
I had a lot of imposter syndrome um, until I realized I'm doing. I I'm putting in the work. I'm pretty good at this. I realized I would tell my younger self, as long as you're, and I keep coming back to this, I know my intentions are good.
Mm.
And I would just say to my younger self, just please, please know you're going to, how do I say this? Because everything has worked out. I mean, yes, I've had cancer a couple of times. I miss my mother and father dearly. I blow 2 kisses to heaven every morning when I walk into the studio, and all these things that I thought would just um, I would just be dust. I would just be so devastated, and believe me, they've been very tragic. I would just tell my younger self, "You're stronger than you know."
Mm.
Would not have that needless worry. Oh, I've had a lot of misfortunes in my life, many of which never even happened. You ever hear
Right.
that one? And it's so true. It's like all these misfortunes that happen are in a head that never happen. What a waste. And I would just tell myself, don't waste your time on that, because life and time is precious.
And I think we'll just do one more because we are
Oh,
approaching that half hour. But you just mentioned how you miss mom and dad, and Mary from Belmont, Massachusetts. She wants to know what was some of the best advice that your mother and father gave to you and your siblings growing up.
I asked, thank you, Mary. I love to end on my mom and my daddy. My father was a Tuskegee Airman. My mom and dad were the first in their families to go to college. They went to Howard University. And the best piece of advice, other than the 3 Ds, I remember asking Mama, why have your 4 children? It seems like we've done well in life. It has nothing to do with how much money we have in the bank or how many
Sure.
people know us. We haven't been in much trouble, a little trouble, but not much trouble. And we're responsible adults. And I asked her, I said, why have your children done well in life in that regard? And I thought she'd say, oh, because I taught your children the importance of education, blah, 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 blah. And she said, because your father and I taught you children good manners.
Oh.
And that's the best piece of advice, to be respectful of others, to respect myself. And that was the best piece of advice. And I'm a very spiritual person. And I remember when I was talking to my mom about my sexuality, and so afraid that people would think you can't be this way and be a Christian and all that. And again, their best piece of advice to me was, um, God loves you because of who he is, not because of anything you do or don't do. He loves you
Mm.
because of who he is. So between the good manners and knowing that, it's set a very strong foundation. And I am so grateful. I'm so grateful that my mother and father were both very present in all their children's lives, and taught us to be a service to others and to be community minded as they were.
Well, you have been a service to us just today, listening to you, the pages of your book, even more so, Brighter by the Day. Once again, everybody, you can buy signed autographed copies by the one and only Robin Roberts, premiercollectibles.com/writer.
Thank y'all. Thank you so much. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Thanks for making my day brighter by the day. Thanks, Lindsay.
Thanks for being such a blessing to us all, Robin.
Great. Take care.
Hey, this is John Acuff, New York Times best-selling author of 7 books and someone who's done a live signing. If you like the one you just watched, make sure you check out our YouTube channel. It's full of amazing authors having great conversations and signing books for viewers just like you. So make sure you subscribe, and thanks for watching today.